This is a 2018 Tesla Model S, and today I'm gonna give you a little walk around, show you some of its features. I'm gonna take it for a drive and share my impressions. Now this car has some very nice LED headlights. These are now standard on the Model S. After the year 2016 and a half, approximately, Tesla did a little refresh on the Model S to make so now its headlights look a little more smooth. They got this nice diffuse part running all open here to smooth out the look of the LEDs, and a very nice LED turn signal. I think it looks pretty good. Now this car is equipped with the smaller 19-inch wheels. They're outfitted with 245, 45, 19-inch tires, and these are kind of highway Grand Touring luxury tire. This is not a performance tire. Let's go ahead and look in the back. Power liftgate, of course. Actually a very nicely sized trunk in here, and this cargo cover makes it so even with this kind of hatchback rear glass, you can still cover up your stuff. Combined with the front cargo area, this is actually about 31 cubic feet of cargo volume, which is very good for any car of this size. Let's go ahead and take a look under the hood, where you will find actually nothing at all. The drivetrain package in these Teslas is essentially only a little bit larger than a standard axle in a combustion powered car. So you have all this area free where the engine would be. So you got a lot of storage space in here for smaller items. I think with the refresh from the pre-refresh Model S to this one, this little front area seems like it's gotten a little bit smaller, but still very, very useful and very cool to have this extra storage space. Let's go ahead and take a look at the panel gaps, give us a sense of Tesla's build quality. Here's where we really start to see a difference between Tesla and other established luxury car manufacturers. Let's start with the hood. Gap on the right side is very much visibly smaller than the left, and it seems like the whole hood is actually tilted down and to the right like this. This front fender here rises up by like 4 millimeters over the top of the hood on this side, and it's flush on the other side. That's completely unacceptable in my opinion. Also, this position of this whole front fender doesn't look very good. Enormous gap all along the side with the hood, and doesn't really line up right here with the front bumper. Coming around the side here, actually door gaps are pretty good. They got that figured out. Note this chrome strip lines up pretty well on this side from the door to the back here. Again, what's going on with this rear bumper? Flush here, the rear bumper comes out from the car above and then comes back around to the trunk. It looks, again, the whole trunk is kind of shifted down this way a little bit. There's a raise. This rear panel is raised compared to the trunk here. Tail lights line up, but then it's not like that on this side. A smaller gap on this side as well. Around to the other side, this chrome piece is off by about 2 millimeters this way from the door to here, but it wasn't like that on the other side. Also, let's take a look at this. Just colossal gap in between the panoramic roof and the top of the trunk. I know they need to get these pieces to fit together, but this is ridiculous. Again, doors are pretty good on this side. And then coming back around to the hood, fitment along this is a lot better, but it needs to fit on both sides. Also, this line around the headlight, gap between the headlight and the front fender is pretty even through here, but as you come to the hood, it gets wider and then narrower again. So I think overall panel gaps on this car are completely unacceptable for something that costs this much, and honestly some of the worst I've seen on any car, any new car. Yeah. what really sets Tesla apart from some other manufacturers that are getting into the electric car game is they actually do manufacture their own electric motors. So this model is the 100D, which means it has two of their smaller drive units, one in the front, one in the rear, so it's all-wheel drive. Now, the Society of Automotive Engineers, I believe, has not really set forth the standards for measuring electric motor output in the same way that they do for gasoline engines. So Tesla is a little, they're not confident on the figures as to the power and torque from these motors, and that information is not exactly, not as clear cut as it is for a gasoline engine. But by my estimations, and a lot of sources seem to agree on this, this 100D has a combined output of around 460 horsepower and a torque of around 500 pound-feet of torque, and the performance one has somewhere closer to 700 horsepower. All right, let's go ahead, take a look inside, check out some of the interior features of the Model S. So Tesla originally offered the Model S with a full leather interior Alcantara headliner. At some point they decided that it would be the eco-friendly choice to switch to a vegan leatherette interior. Fine. And they also offered for a period of time actually a cloth interior. Now what's interesting is, in between the time when they offered the leather interior and the vegan leather interior, there was a very short period of time where you could only order a Model S with the cloth interior. I believe this period of time was very short, maybe only a couple of weeks, but this is one of those cars. So we have a cloth, a textile interior as they call it, cloth on the back of this seat back and the bottom, and we have leatherette on the sides. It's comfortable, but this is, I would never expect in a car that costs this much to find a cloth interior. As you can see, it doesn't hold up as well, not as easy to clean, and I think with such, and Tesla has some other really great interior options. They have a white leatherette that I think looks really cool, and every car that's been equipped with that I've seen, it's been clean, it's easy to clean. But this, I'm astounded that Tesla got away with shipping out cars to these people who wanted to order Teslas. They only had an option of getting this cloth interior for that period of time. That they would have a production slip up like that and allow something like this to happen is unacceptable. I think Tesla's greatest achievement with the interior here, it's really cool, is they've got this awesome screen set up in the front display cluster here. You have this on the right here is configurable with the steering wheel. So all of this, so you can display all sorts of different things up in here. Fan speed, calls, temperature, pretty cool. So you can choose what this knob is gonna control over here. It's pretty cool. And then on the other side, right now it has what's playing on the radio, but you can have it when you're have navigation running. It's going to show your map over on this side. And then in the center here, this is kind of your area to see what the car's sensors are aware of. So right now we're just in an open parking lot, so there's nothing showing around the car, but you'll see as I drive the car that it actually it's aware of the other cars on the road, and it's going to show them there, and as well as lane markers. And we can't review a Tesla without talking about the centerpiece of the interior, which is this enormous touchscreen in the middle here. We've got a ton of features. Essentially, everything that you do in the car is controlled on here. So this is the obviously huge navigation screen, but you can go in and change all kinds of settings about the car. This car does have the air suspension, so you can go ahead and adjust the height of the car. You have different driving features. So this car is not a performance model, so it doesn't have the ludicrous acceleration, but you have standard or chill acceleration. This is electric power steering with 3 different modes. Changes the weight of the steering, does not change the steering ratio. And then also you can set up the regenerative braking to be low, so it'll feel a little bit more like a regular car when you let off the accelerator pedal. Because in this car, it's gonna use the electric motors to actually charge the battery right when you let off the accelerator, and it really slows down the car a lot, to almost to a point where in a lot of situations you can drive the car without using the brakes at all. Now we get to the main party trick of the Tesla here. This is autopilot options. So the car will steer itself, navigate. We'll show all this later. We got the summon feature. This is some really advanced stuff. Just some options about the vehicle and display. That's all that's in here. That's exciting. But you got your down at the bottom, you got your music. You also have this menu here where you can look at all the other stuff. Here's something I find interesting. So we'll go ahead and click camera. Brings up the rear camera. But this car's covered in cameras. This car has cameras all the way around. And this is just a software thing, so I'm sure that they're going to do something about this in the future. But I'd love to see Tesla introduce 360-degree cameras like a lot of their competition has. They have the hardware for it, so that'd be cool to see that in the future. So, and then when you're done with something, you can just swipe it away. Also, all the climate controls are done right here. So all on the screen. This car also has heated seats, no cooling. So this is overall a really slick infotainment system. I think it works really well. My only complaint would be that it does not have Apple CarPlay available, or Android Auto, but whatever. Overall, I think this is a really great infotainment system. Now, something that this Tesla Model S has that earlier ones did not is it does have a little bit of a center console here down underneath. Before, they just kind of had an open area, which was cool, I guess. So you have this door, and you have some cup holders down in here. This car has a nice wood, like shiny dark wood trim. It's not piano black exactly. And then coming back here, we have some more cup holders and these little armrests. All they do is cover the cup holder. There's no storage space in here. So the only 2 buttons here, physical buttons, up here we have the hazard lights and this button, which electronically opens the glove box. It's pretty small in there, but I think it's cool that it's the electronic operation. Also, electronic operation is the doors. There's no mechanical linkage between the door handle and the doors, so when you go ahead and pull that, the door just clicks open. So there you go. All right, stepping into the rear of the Model S here. This is a big car, so I got plenty of leg room sitting behind myself. These rear seats are a huge improvement over the earlier Model S's. In the early years, 2012 to 2016, the rear seat, well, all of the seats have changed, but especially the comfort level in these is a lot better. It's much nicer, more padded, and also the seat backs are more padded, and you have a real headrest back here. If you look at some of the pre-facelift Model S's, they had an extremely like little baby headrests and not a very comfortable back seat, especially considering how big this car is. The back seat is also a place where people are going to want to sit, and so it should be nice. My biggest complaint back here, there's no rear console, no cup holders back here, so there's really no way to there's nothing folding down here. Considering that this is such a large vehicle, the full size, essentially it's a full size sedan. I would expect that there would be some more features back here in the back seat. It's pretty empty. All we have is these climate control vents over here. We've got two nice, actually this is nice, USB ports for charging, and then we have some lights up here. Just a little round light, you can push on it, and that's pretty much it. Back here is pretty sparse, but it's, again, this is actually pretty comfortable, especially compared to the first pre-facelift Model S. Now this car also has a panoramic sunroof. This thing stretches all the way across the whole roof. Pretty cool. Stays dark to make sure the sunlight isn't too bright while you're in here, but it's light enough that you can see through it. It's pretty cool. Let's talk about the quality. At least they got that figured out. Pretty nice door close. Now, we've already talked about this car has a cloth interior. I think that with that also comes some other downgrades to the materials in here. Other Teslas that I've been in have all aluminum trim. This is plastic. Also, the headliner here is all cloth instead of Alcantara. What is nice though, they do have this leatherette all around the interior, and there's a nice stitching all over the dashboard and everywhere. The stitching is nice. The window controls are from Mercedes, as is the drive selector and windshield wiper stalks. These are Mercedes parts, so they're pretty good. Coming around on the top of the dashboard here, this is a pretty nice feel to it, pretty solid, as well as nice stitching along here. It's pretty soft. Coming down here, the wood in here is pretty cool. I also like the look of carbon fiber in these Teslas. That's available. Again, plastic trim all around here, and I think this stuff is aluminum on some of the other ones. So that's a little out of place, but pretty solid. Coming down to the bottom here, this whole center console thing at the bottom is kind of a little bit of an afterthought, as it was not always included. Look at this, the whole thing can kind of shift around, as well as this lid is just kind of doing its thing. But with the exception of this and all the plastic trim around the interior, I would say overall the quality of the materials is pretty good. Execution is not quite as good, especially over here. Actually, maybe we'll show that on the back windows, but there's this rubber trim that comes in between the window and the body, and it doesn't always line up so well. So now we got the Model S out on the road, and wow, it's so quiet in here. I mean, without any engine, you can really hear everything else. It's just got a little bit of a whine to it, the electric motors. Now this car disguises its weight very well. This is quite a heavy car, but because the battery packs are down at the bottom, the center of gravity is much lower, and it handles pretty well. Especially with the air suspension, it's a pretty nice ride. It's definitely not incredibly comfortable of a ride, but it irons out a lot of the bumps and handles extremely well. And of course, we wouldn't be complete without talking about the acceleration. I know there's the performance model available, but boy, this one is really quick. This is quicker than anything that you would use in day-to-day use. Now the steering even in the sport mode, is pretty light. I would recommend that you go ahead and put the steering in the sport mode there. Very little feedback from the steering, but I mean, this is a luxury car. That's how it's going to be. It's something else that's very interesting, because you don't really hear. There's so little noise in here. You can listen a lot more to the tires as you're driving it a little more aggressively to tell how much grip you have. You can really hear the tires a lot more than you would in a standard car. In terms of sound deadening in here, it's actually not really quiet in that respect, but in terms of the engine, there is no, so it's pretty good. But the car is extremely well planted for something of this size around corners. I mean, this is a really I wouldn't say it's super really exciting to drive, but this is a very nice car to drive. I think it balances the luxury ride and the sporty handling really well. I mean, I'm amazed at how heavy this car is. I think this car is something like 4,600 pounds, and it feels so much lighter. Yeah, here, I'll step on here. Oh! Yeah, I mean, the acceleration is excellent. More than you would ever really need to in an everyday scenario. The seats also are pretty well bolstered. Tesla has gone through a few different seats on the Model S over the years, and I think these ones are really nice in terms of the bolstering. It's soft and comfortable, but yet I'm really well secured around the corners here. So we're merging onto the freeway now. I have the Navigate on Autopilot feature enabled. Go ahead and click that, and I'm gonna enable the autopilot. There we go. So you've all seen how autopilot works. It's been out for a few years, but oh my goodness, there we go. So Tesla has recently introduced a feature called Navigate on Autopilot, which allows the car to decide what lane it's going to be in throughout your journey on the freeway. So I have a destination set, and in theory, it's going to take me all the way to my destination without me driving the car at all. Going to get me over the left lane to go faster, and then when it's time to exit, it's going to get me back over the right lane. This is really cool. So I still have control over what my max speed is here, but it prompts me when it wants to make a lane change, and I confirm by pressing the turn signal here. It's pretty cool. So up here it says it's going to do an upcoming lane change. So when it's ready to do that, it's going to prompt me to just use the turn signal, and that'll start the lane change. There we go. Confirm lane change to follow route. Here I go. Pressing the turn signal, not touching the wheel. We have just successfully changed lanes, and I didn't do any of it. This Tesla has the full self-driving capability hardware upgrade. It has a lot more cameras, and actually you can see on the screen right now, it can see all 5 lanes of the freeway. It knows where they are. I think that's pretty cool. So we're coming up to the exit here. It's already got me in the exit lane. Let's see what it does. Still on autopilot. There we go. 400 feet. Navigate on Autopilot is ending. It's slowing me down, and there we go. Took me all the way to the exit. Amazing. Look at that. Overall, I think this car, while it has some kinks that they need to work out, Tesla, I mean, it's the only option right now, really, if you want an electric car that has range that's comparable to a gas car. I mean, the Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi E-tron, Both of those have less range than this thing does, and while those might have a little, especially the Audi e-tron might have a little nicer fit and finish than this, still right now, if you're married to the idea of an electric car, this is the best on the market right now. I think Tesla is really going to have some stiff competition in the coming years from some more established automakers, with this car in particular facing off with the upcoming Porsche Taycan and the Audi e-tron GT. Well, I'll be interested to see how those compare. But right now, I mean, Tesla is really a solid choice, even if it's not quite as doesn't quite compete in the luxury aspects that a car that costs this much that I would expect. I think it's still they've done some really amazing work with range and with these such cool technology features like the autopilot. I think that Tesla, I mean, while they might not be as prevalent in the coming years with some other cars from more mainstream automakers, I think that right now Tesla is the best electric cars that you can get.